Welcome back. It is the day many were looking forward to. Today, Monday, 4th April, Monday, April 4th, 2022. It's the day where safe zones, all that will be in the realm of history. Things from the past. I guess the mask mandate, as I mentioned before, will continue. But businesses, everyone, they are indeed happy to know that there is that light. It's getting brighter, and that light is at the end of that dark tunnel that had many under so much pressure, as we say in local terms, during the pandemic. Let's welcome to have a deeper discussion concerning the end of the safe zones and, as always, safety precautions. We welcome with us this morning to the top of the Zoom screen from the Tobago Business Chamber, their president, Martin George. A man I always enjoy chatting with you on the program. Good morning, Martin.
Yes, hi, good morning to you, Jason. Good morning, Theron. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. And Jason, I would think that today is what we would call Liberation Day.
Liberation Day. And I want to find out from Theron if his sentiments are the same. Theron, of course, is the president of the TNT Coalition of Bars and Restaurants. Theron Mohan, Liberation Day, you say, also?
Certainly, Jason. Good morning to you and your viewers. Good morning, Mr. George. Certainly, it's a very pleasant next day birthday present for me. I consider it that highly, and very much looking forward to it.
I want to find out. I probably will start with Martin here. I would imagine the onus will still remain on us, the citizenry, to be responsible, to not wild out, obviously, to really, again, enjoy this particular moment. We have all struggled together as a nation, and we're now coming into a place of some semblance of normalcy. What say you, Martin, as we get this discussion started?
Yes, well, I mean, the fact is, Jason, I mean, as a nation, we have all been waiting to exhale collectively. You know, we wanted to have this moment where we can start to begin to feel, well, we are back to life as normal. However, with it, as always, comes the responsibility whereby persons are required to ensure that they take responsibility for their personal health and safety. Business owners also have to ensure that they, still try to, as far as possible, ensure that, health and safety protocols are observed. However, the fact of the matter is, Jason, I have said a long time ago, we have to learn to live with COVID. And for those who do not make it, unfortunately, we have to learn to die with COVID. COVID is not going away just yet, and we have to ensure that life moves on despite the fact that it is still hanging around.
Thanks a lot there for the opening statement. Let's go across to Theron. Theron, when you talk to your fellow bar operators, bar owners, folks within that field, even those who might be selling food within the bar space, are you all still going forward with some of the protocols already in place? Obviously, I know the crowd will increase, but tell me, what's the current operational approach? Is it still measured, you would say?
It certainly will have to continue to be measured to a certain degree. I really cannot agree more with what Martin has said. The personal responsibility, where it really boils down to on both the consumer and the operator or the bar owner. It doesn't go out the window, even though the safe zone principle is out the window. So there is going to be a very much continued measure. Yes, we're going to have a little ease up, kind of you allow a little more persons within the establishment and carry it on, but regardless of the situation, regardless of safe zone, the scenario not being there, sanitizing still has to continue. The advice of social distancing must still continue and be upheld. So there will definitely be a more cautious thing. And under my advice to my members, that has been my very clear expressions to them. Don't take it for granted and just don't allow the environment to run amok. We are at this point. We look forward for it after all this time, but let's not just do away with it and get all willy-nilly over it.
So vaccine card, all these things are of yesterday. No one really needs to walk with that anymore to verify if they're vaccinated to walk into a bar.
No.
Okay. Yeah. Just again, I mean that's the meaning of the ending of the safe zone. But just to make it clear for those looking on, just to be totally clear. So I just wanted to make that point.
Yes, that's right.
just bring forward that point. I want to bring Martin back into the discussion. Martin, I follow your commentary. So last week we saw Carl increase the flights from 16 to 24, I believe, in terms of that Trinidad Tobago, the air bridge. But you suggested it should be even more than the 24. I want to find out what's the magic number and why should there be more flights, more than the 24 allocated at this point in time to Tobago?
If you're living in San Fernando, Rio Claro, Debe, Pinal, Mayao, and the government were to say, well, okay, look, we are limiting the number of maxis or PTSC buses or private vehicles that can traverse from, the southern part of the nation to the northern part of the nation to only a certain amount each day. So if you get on a bus or a maxi, well, you get on. If you don't get on, come back the next day. How would citizens in the southern part of Trinidad feel when they have to transact business in Port of Spain? Jason, it's almost the same type of thing. And that's what I keep saying. It's one nation. So therefore, we ought not even to approach this from the question of limiting or, how much is enough. The fact of the matter is you need to have accessibility all the time. There are persons who may have, say, for instance, medical emergencies in Tobago who need to be flown down to either Port of Spain General or Mount Hope. If it is that you don't have a flight, then you have to think of trying to get an air ambulance or maybe national security helicopter, and that takes hours to even put in place. If it's the air ambulance, you're talking thousands and thousands of dollars. So the question is, we ought not to be looking at it from the point of view of limits. We ought to look at it from the perspective of accessibility, making sure that there's accessibility. CAL has to ensure that they do their studies. Of course, they will know their peak times when they will need more flights. Then they will have their slow times when maybe you may just have one flight. But the fact of the matter is, you need to ensure that there's always that accessibility. One of the other ideas that I definitely want to pitch, Jason, is that I have suggested repeatedly, and I will say it again, there ought to be a seaplane service going between the Port of Scarborough and the Port of Spain. Business persons such as Teron and other members of his association, if, for instance, one of them wants to go up to Tobago to scout a location, to set up a bar or a restaurant or something of the sort, if you have to go through the process of going through Piarco, fighting up with the traffic, heading to Piarco, waiting hours for a flight, landing at Crown Point, A&R Robinson, then taking the traffic to go into Scarborough, listen, you lose an entire day for a process that could probably, you could probably be in a half-hour meeting, but your entire day is consumed. So therefore, if we also look at that, and Jason, we have to start thinking outside the box.
Well, Martin, let me ask you.
Islands,
Martin, let me ask you, because I'll come back to Teron in a minute there, but I want to really do a deep dive into the seaplane scenario. Now, I'm a student of history. I know that Cocorite, right by Peaks, would have been a seaplane port way back in the day before Piarco was established. That was one of our first airports. So the seaplane concept is nothing new to Trinidad and Tobago. However, I'm wondering in this particular timing, one, would the business interest really take a seaplane? And two, where would this seaplane ideally land in the city? Is it somewhere outside by Hyatt, somewhere further down by the port, closer to Movie Town? Where ideally would this seaplane enter and exit the city to head across to Tobago?
Right, so Jason, I mean, I'm not a maritime specialist, so I can't determine where, but it has to be somewhere Port of Spain based. And once you have that, Jason, the business travel is going to increase. And when I say business travel, I don't just mean investors. I am talking about, you have so many persons, let's say, for instance, from TSTT, TNTech, Atlantic LNG, all these people, they are sending people to Tobago regularly. And the point is they all have to fight up through Piarco for this. If you have the business travelers, this is persons who they're not going with suitcases, they're not going on vacation, they're just going with a briefcase at max. So therefore, you're not even talking about luggage.
Okay.
And they just jump on a seaplane, 15 minutes, they're in Scarborough, get their business done, 15 minutes, they're back into Port of Spain, and you have the rest of the day to use.
Well, Martin, let me ask Teron, because Teron is a businessman. Teron, would you take a seaplane to Tobago to conduct business if you were able to exit, let's say Port of Spain, jump on the seaplane, reach Tobago in about 15, 20 minutes, conduct business, and come back in the Port of Spain within a 3-hour space?
Certainly.
Okay.
There have been instances in business where I've been required to go to Tobago, to conduct, whatever relevant affairs. And the challenge that I had faced time and time again was always the availability of flights. And this is pre-pandemic. And that it took a very strain on trying to be able to conduct business in a timely manner. And there's too much moving around when it comes to personal schedules and the schedules of the other clients. And it all becomes a little tedious. And if it is at the start of trying to get something going that is already this discouraging, then imagine when it is now that it demands more from you and more time from you. Emergencies occur, and instances occur where you need to react immediately. So if you don't have that availability, then it just puts a damper on the entire arrangement.
Yeah, interesting out-of-the-box concept there for sure, Martin. I want to just stay with Terran for a few. Terran, I recognize that at least during the Taste of Carnival, lots of bars more or less turned into quote-unquote nightclubs. I know dancehall licenses are not being granted. Do you expect and anticipate that concept of people being able to, people would usually get up and dance in a bar anyway, having their sips, music playing, you might get up and shake a leg. But we've seen a lot of bars transition and really more or less strike that particular balance during a time when people really could not enjoy themselves to the sweet sounds of music. What's your anticipation when you talk to fellow bar owners and people within the field?
Well, certainly they are going to be moving towards covering entertainment within the establishment from all grounds, all angles, whether it be sport, whether it be dining, whether it be just a simple social setting, or even if it goes as much as the dancehall part of it. The wonderful thing about our membership and our industry is that we are always on the button, just trying to keep up with a trend and just trying to get something going and to keep the environment always changing and always interesting. So I'm certainly looking forward to quite some innovation with regards to how they're going to choose to do business in the future, given that now we have some freedom on occupancies.
That's right. Martin,
Jason, let me just say this. I think ideally for Terran and his membership, I think what they will have to do is to try to strike a balance between a drink and a balance.
Martin. Oh, Martin. I love it. Martin, before we wrap things up, we anticipate Tobago would be alive. As always, every weekend, let's be real, Tobago is so attractive when it comes to that getaway, that runaway, the perfect escape. But of course, Easter, peak season, and even more so, summer into October, when we are hearing of this carnival atmosphere that will come to Tobago. Is Tobago ready in terms of rooms and accommodation and, the fine-tuning on the ground, transportation, the full works? Are they ready for this pace?
I would think that there is eager anticipation, and I would think that most property owners would have put themselves in a state of readiness. We did have the government subventions that gave some assistance to some property owners, and of course, even the second tranche is available now through the Tobago Tourism Authority. So I would think that persons are definitely getting themselves ready. Villa owners, I know, are getting increase in business. And Jason, the way you describe it, I think it's perfect, because I always say Trinidad is the crown and Tobago is the jewel in that crown. And we must understand that this is our own little piece of paradise, our own little private island getaway, so to speak. And we in Tobago have to ensure that we make ourselves ready to receive visitors. And I've always emphasized to all business owners in Tobago, Trinidadians coming for vacation are tourists, and we need to ensure that our quality and level of service is the same as you would give to any other foreigner who is coming there as a tourist also. In fact, the largest component of the Tobago tourism sector is Trinidadians. So we need to ensure that we up our game, we step up the quality of our service delivery, the professionalism with which we treat our guests and our visitors to ensure that they have such a pleasant experience, they want to come back again and again.
Well said, Martin. Well said. I want to bring Teron back into the discussion. Teron, it would be remiss of me not to ask, did the safe zone situation, now that was of yesterday. Today it's a new day, a new horizon, as you all rightfully said. But did the safe zone impact bar owners in any kind of way? What was the feedback coming out of that safe zone? Now the bars were open. We were asking for them to open up. They were closed for business. So closed means no business. But then it was open up with a safe zone scenario. How did that work out for the bar owners?
There was some degree of survival. People made the best of the situation. That goes without a doubt. There were those who just didn't bother. The numbers didn't make sense to them, and therefore they chose to shutter their operations. So I would say there was a bit more survivability coming out of it for many of the other places. But again, with the factor of overheads, and then the rolling over of these deferrals and so on that they would have applied for in the past from banks, from utility companies, there were already quite a few, and I was sad to see how high the numbers were, that they really could not find a way out of it at all. I think the closures, the last number that I got was around 700 businesses that had shuttered, and the remaining that chose to continue and that were able to continue, they were literally just trying to get back. Luckily, it was enough to support the complement of staff and to the owner to keep his head just above water. And so I mean, sadly, there was some survivability from it, but on the other side of things, there was that saddening factor. But I'm looking forward to the turnaround from today.
Yeah, and as you said, before we wrap things up, the bar really provides that multifunctional place to socialize. This week is Champions League, so the sporting element will be there. People could go again to the bar to watch their favorite Champions League team.
We miss that camaraderie a lot, and sadly, you had to knock that camaraderie off with who's vaccinated, who's not vaccinated, and we weren't able to converge in that space. I mean, yes, we understand the long game of the whole scenario, but within these spaces, yes, we have lost and missed that camaraderie, and certainly looking forward to getting it back.
Really quick, in a couple seconds, any closing remarks, Teron, before I go across to Martin for his closing remarks?
Man, I just want to say that thank God that we come out of this situation a lot better. It's been a struggle. The road has been quite challenging, but we're looking forward to some progress now. I do want to thank the government for the part it has played throughout this whole thing. All transgressions aside, but we're very grateful.
Well said. Thanks a lot, Teron. Always good talking with you, Martin. Closing remarks, you take us to the break.
Yeah, I would certainly like to thank the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago for their resilience and their steadfastness in this time of crisis. And we have basically gone through 2 years of pandemic lockdowns and, all sorts of measures. And what I would say is that we ought to emerge from this better, stronger, and we look forward to the brightest possible future as we, move out of this phase into back what we would call a new normal.
Thank you so much. Martin George and Teron Mohan touching base. Fellas, men, gentlemen, we have waited for this day and it's here. And we go forward brave, fearless. All the best. Yes.
Thank you. Have a great morning.
They said Liberation Day. We come back. Full details in terms of social media, birthday brew, and something to think about. Stick around on this Monday, April 4th, 2022.